morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 442 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, and it is going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver. And not with me today is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. He sent me a message earlier this morning saying that he had not slept as well as he should have. And if I was going to ask him, how's your mental health doing today, sir? I think his response would have been something like, it's gone to shit. So he is taking a day for self-care, which, of course, we very much support here at the Beaver Lodge. Self-care is very, very important, and if you can make time for it, you always should. So you get a solo beaver today. So I'll do my best. Last time I didn't stick the landing. This time I didn't actually stick the mount. For some reason, I was caught in a loop on the production thing. So yes, those of you who are here and saw things looping around and going like, what the heck's going on? It was an interesting thing happening where I was just looping and it was asking me to press a button for the countdown. But it's like, but I've already done the countdown. Why do I have to press it? And it was a button I'd never seen before. So I was a little confused because, well, I'm easily confused. So, so yeah. But hey, figured it out. I'm still new here when it comes to producing. Usually Mr. Grizzly does that. So But uh, if we're going to do this every day, then every now and then one of us is going to need a day off, and the other one needs to know how to figure out, the other one being me, how to do this. So I'm getting better at it, though, kids. I'm getting better at it. Good morning to all the kids and cubs who have joined us this morning. Kit Elaine, Kit Wishful, hey, so nice to see you. Kit PNC Bio, Kit Lida M, Kit Vim, there you go. Let's see, who else do we have here with us? Kit Carol, yeah, hello, Nona, lovely to see you. Thank you for coming today. Kit Dan, hey, my friend. Ah, yeah, really. Good morning to you all, and don't worry, Douglas. I thought I was going nuts for a second. Yeah, I was too there. Kid Linda, it's the intro that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends. Kid Cassie, yeah, Miss, hello, and all the family. Hello, Mateo. Hello, Jazzy. Hello, Rain, and hello, Mohan. I hope you're all doing well. And Kit Tabby G, pop it in. Hello, Kit Saucy. You are not late. There you go. Thank you so much for joining us. Beautiful day. Going to be here at the Beaver Lodge. So very excited about that. And going to go play some tennis a little later today. Get to play some doubles, which is kind of fun because I'm new to doubles, and I like it. I have to say I like it. It's I thought I would sweat less playing doubles because technically you cover half the court, and last week was the first time, and no. So it's a good workout. Plus, since we're four on the court, we get the court for 2 hours instead of one. So, yay! You actually get to play an actual match with like regular sets, and rather than a pro set to 8. So it's kind of fun. I like it. So I'm looking forward to that. And let's see. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss P Mysteries from Corver Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Kids and Cubs, my mental health, doing much better today. I had a really bad 24 to 36 hours at one, yeah. And fortunately, the help of good friends, out of the blue, Kit Hugh actually gave me a call because he was coming to town for something, and we ended up having a brunch together, and it was exactly what this beaver needed as a little pick-me-up. So thank you for being a friend. Love it. So yeah, doing much better today. Actually feeling like my old self, actually. So my usual self, which is nice because yeah, I was very sulky and sad, and actually stress cried yesterday. So twice, actually. So yeah, today much better. All right, the news. There is lots going on, of course. The big political news is south of us because now the prospective Democratic nominee, because you couldn't say that before because she hadn't been confirmed, but now she is, Kamala Harris, announced her vice presidential pick. It seems that in the end, it came down to three people: Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, who's an astronaut; Tim Walz from Minnesota, a governor that sort of has been developing a reputation as America's dad, and he's the one that kind of kicked off the whole weird thing that stuck; and Governor Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, who Pennsylvania is a big state. In terms of the Electoral College, it has 19 votes, which is the fifth most, tied with another state. So it's an important state. And Josh Shapiro is Jewish, which could shore up the ticket if a political concern for the ticket was what was going on in Israel and Gaza, and the party felt that it needed to send a signal to the Jewish community that it's with them. That could have been a way that they could have gone as well. But she ended up picking Tim Walz, who I didn't know much about until a few weeks ago, and kept seeing him in clips. And he's got the thing that Pete Buttigieg has, in that he's a very, very effective communicator, and he can speak to the middle, because when he was before he was governor, he was a representative in Congress, and he represents a rural area, and a typically more Republican voting area, but he was able to break through. So he has the ability to be a channel back and forth between two different groups. He's quite progressive, pretty much an honorary Canadian, to be totally honest, in terms of a lot of his political policies, which will do a lot as well to shore up the more younger, youthful, militant vote. Probably similar people that, like Bernie Sanders, might like him. Maybe not as much as Bernie Sanders. He's not that far on the spectrum, but um, to get the feeling that they might be getting some slightly more progressive policies than they had hoped for, could create some buzz there. Seems to be an overall good choice. Doesn't seem to have much controversy. Um, you know, worked as a teacher, which could put a little target on him, because we know how a particular moment loves teachers. Sorry, while I have a little tea. By the way, celebrating the Olympics. Yes, exactly. Kitpiensia bio. Minnesota may as well be Southern Canada. It's like it's honorary Canada, right? So yes, Kirkland M. Walz. Exactly. Yes, it's like having Brittlestar for VP. That is a very, very good way to put it. Yes, I would agree. I would agree. That's very, very good. So he's affable. He does have that dad vibe, which is cool. But he was a teacher. He was a coach. So like a little Doug Ford in terms of some folksiness, and a little Justin Trudeau in terms of uh, knowing what to do with unruly children. And the opposing party is basically the high school from which nobody ever graduated. So, kind of perfectly suited in terms of tone to handle that. He was also a member of the National Guard for 24 years, and rose to a level that a rank that I cannot remember off the top of my head. But so, I mean, you can say that, he does have some military background. Often that's a place where, the Republicans would like to go if you want to explore a weakness, weak on the military or whatnot. So I'm not sure, it's a Buttigieg or General Schwarzkopf level. But 24 years, right? And rose through the ranks there as well. So another interesting thing about him is that he's 60, she's 59. I know we're not supposed to talk about looks, but she does not look like she's 1 year younger than he is in age. So that whole old thing, because you got Trump running in the back going, anyone is not old. 78's not old now. I was like, well, Tim Walz is 60, so literally Trump could be his dad. And she looks younger. All the stuff that they said about old can now come back to bite them. So this seems to be a pretty good ticket. they made their debut at a rally in Philadelphia, which was something that was leading people to think that maybe Josh Shapiro would be the pick, given that he's the governor of Pennsylvania. But it turns out that that's just where they decided to hold the first event because it's an important swing state, and of all the swing states, it's the one with the highest number of electoral college votes. So it's the one that they absolutely have to win, according to them, right? That in Georgia. Georgia, it's only because we don't consider it a swing state because it's only swung once. And as we say in French, une fois n'est pas coutume, once does not make a habit. Or once is not a trend. So they held the event there, and it was a crowd of 10,000 that showed up. And they were loud. So the whole Trump thing in 2016, when he was having these big rallies with these big crowds and sort of like this era of inevitability that was around him, that he was manufacturing with those rallies. There's a little bit of that going on here. In this case, it's kind of organic, which is very interesting. In my lifetime, this is the most well, am I going to say that? Because there was lots of excitement for Barack Obama, I have to admit, but see, I can't tell if there's more excitement now just because the stakes are higher. Because when it was Barack Obama, this undercurrent wasn't where it is now. And then there was just excitement, the excitement was literally more hopeful when he was saying hope, and that iconic poster and image. It really was that. It was, there was an opportunity to do something that had never been done before, and try to, it doesn't fix everything, but, we'll talk about reconciliation here in Canada like this, that would be, a big moment of reconciliation in the United States, where some of their history is concerned. But this time, there is history to be made. First female president, right? But there's a level of stakes that sort of makes it seem that if you see a reaction like this, where people are coming out, it's almost like the backlash to the Blacklash. There was a president, not only was he not white, 100% white, and not only was he not only one term, and not only did he give people health care, which for some reason really seems to piss off Republicans, and it was like, oh my God, we can't have that again. There was a pendulum swing, and we got the second non-white president in U.S. history. Sorry. Couldn't help myself. We got Agent Orange. And that was like one term was like, whoa, boy. Yeah, okay. And there seemed to have been a backlash to that. And a lot of people are seeing this perhaps as a moment, right? If there can be enough enthusiasm and the Democrats could win, and can win sizably enough, that might kill this Trumpism thing. That doesn't mean that won't be another person that comes around and tries to sell some type of version of what the 2028 version of this will be. But that whole cult of personality, charisma type thing that he had, that goes, and there's a rejection of that, and maybe the the brain trust up there that's trying to get its own way and say, well, okay, well, that's not going to work anymore. Let's see what else is there. And we can maybe get past this, let's establish an autocratic state thing. Ideally, of course, it would be that there was so much enthusiasm about that down ballot and all over that people really make an effort to come out. And when you add to the ballot initiatives, I mean, if it could be a situation where a majority, the 60-seat Senate, and the majority in the House and whatnot could happen, then in 4 years, especially with all the powers that the Supreme Court just gave, they could really clean house. In that case, if they wanted to unpack the court, they really could, because there would be nothing to stop them. But yeah, right now, this is the excitement phase. So apparently they're going to be making stops in 7 states, all key swing states, I think most of them, in 5 days. So it's going to be quite a schedule to try to maintain that momentum, maintain that buzz. In terms of fundraising, things are going really well in terms of volunteers signing up really well. So said there's excitement on the ground about this campaign. A lot of people are saying that maybe not since the days of Kennedy, in terms of that the amount that it's vibrating. Whether or not that can be sustained is another thing. The advantage that they have is that this particular ticket, since it came by so late, it's the closest to the Canadian-style election that we're going to get in the United States, because they have this whole year primaries. Like we have somebody say, go see the Governor General. Okay, 36 days from now, this is all you get, and we get and then we said, okay, then we only need to hear about it for that long, even though, of course, since Harper came around, and now with PP on steroids, it's now the permanent campaign. But in terms of our elections, it's that. But when you have all the primaries and all that kind of stuff, and it's almost a 2-year thing for them. So I mean, you get to see them a lot. You have I think that's one of the things in our election. I like that they're shorter, but sometimes I think they're too short because they don't give enough time for something to blow up. If something does blow up, and then see how people handle it. So in the United States, however, it's too much time for things to blow up, and then everybody says, "Oh my God, it's like all this awful research and all these scandals and everything. And, they're all horrible." But I'm one of the few people who did like what conservatives are probably going to consider a mistake, but that Harper, in his first election, in the election that he lost to Justin Trudeau, when he called a lengthy election, because he had built up a big war chest and figured he could just really hammer, and what it did is it just gave time for some things to slip up, because when it's just 32 days, a little scandalette happens, and if it doesn't really catch on right away, it just dies. Whereas in a longer campaign, oh well, maybe that can last for 2 or 3 days, and maybe we can keep digging and see if something else comes up. So things like the barbaric practices cultural snitch line had a lot more time to play out, and you got to see how people would react, and it created more opportunities for ebbs and flows in the race, and oops, somebody tripped over a hurdle here. So, and I believe in that race, the lead changed 3 times. The NDP led at one point, the Conservatives led at one point, and the Liberals led at one point, and we ultimately settled on the Liberals. But that gave us enough time to see, under pressure, under the glare of the spotlight, over a sustained period of time, not just 1 month, where you can plan a different policy announcement 1 month to keep the narrative moving. But if you do like 2.5, that's a little trickier. Yeah. Exactly. The NC Kirkland, the one that Harper called, that was longer, felt like it was lasted forever for no reason. I like the shorter election period. And like I said, I see it. I see the reason why people like the shorter one, like politics. Like, okay, you know what? We're all going to concentrate for 32 days, and then let's leave us alone for the next 4 years. Fine. I get that. I just think a little extra runway gets a better chance to evaluate how people do under pressure. Gives a chance a little, just that little extra bit of scrutiny that you need to say, oh, well, wait a minute. Oh, in a crisis, can we really depend on this person? Let's think about that for a second. So I like the long word, but then again, I'm a political geek, right? So yeah, this is it's a really interesting ticket. It's going to be fun to see how this plays out because the context that we're going into this now is completely different as well. It looked like we were going to go for a rematch, old man versus old man, bickering about their golf games, and all of a sudden, there's an energy. It will be about policies to a certain extent. It's not just going to be Donald Trump is a bad person, so don't elect him. There's going to be other stuff. There are going to be ballot initiatives that are going to help people come out. There's going to be lots of grassroots activity. It's like men for Kamala and women for Kamala and all that kind of stuff. That's already organizing. If you're on social media is not the real world, as we learned recently with PBS platforms. But there does seem the fundraising dollars and the number of the people signing up to volunteer and that kind of stuff doesn't lie, right? 10,000 people in a stadium in Philadelphia for the launch, the official launch, doesn't lie. So, tables have turned a little bit. There's a narrative switch, and it doesn't really look like the Republicans were prepared for it. Pardon me. Because when Biden stepped aside, the reactions were like, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. Like, what about all our merch? What about all our plans, our strategies? And they were even talking about like trying to stop it in court. And I guess they didn't really make all that big an effort at that because never heard about that again. So it's almost like we're just going to say Biden's old. Biden's got to go. Biden's old. He's got to go. He'll never go. And we'll just ride that pony all the way to the finish line. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa. You did what we asked? You got rid of him? You can't do that. Hey. And then Weird started catching on. And it's like, we're not weird. We're not. And it's like everything they do to show that they're not weird only ends up making them look weirder. And it's a similar thing going on here in Canada as well. It's like we saw Weird and like us saw it working. And hey, why not? Hey, it's like it's a common thing in politics. I mean, that's the entire conservative movement. They see it work somewhere and then they take it and they spread it up. Well, okay, Weird is working there. PP is no less weird. I mean, come on. Jeez. Mr. Anti-Charisma. Ooh. So, and it's bothering them now. Conservatives saw it and trying to head off at the past. They tried their wacko thing, and I mean, yes, it's like yes, but no. It's so mean spirited when they're doing it, right? So it's not. The trick is to disarm, right? If you fear them, because you give them power. So if you portray them as something to mock, it's like that's just weird. That's just creepy. Is it just me, or this is weird, right? Right? They don't know what to do with that. It's a zigging when they were expecting zagging. He's a felon, he's a criminal, he's a rapist. You can't vote for that. He's not the type of role model you'd want your children to have. It's like, yeah. But weird, that sticks. And then you get into, so we're in Canada, and it's like, that's going over there. But in Canada, instead of that, we get the pundit class, giving us this, I think it was Scott Reed that put out a tweet saying something like, that someone else's stick, find your own. It's like, we don't do this for style points. We don't do this, to be the most creative. It fits and it works. That's pretty much all we care about. We're talking about pure strategy. It's not like, oh my God, look at this great idea. It's really working. Well, I guess we can't use that idea now. I mean, it's like, no. It's like, let's roll the dice, give it a whirl, see if it works. Right? So the media here, I don't know what it is yet, but it's like, we're Canadians that want their democracy to remain a democracy, that like the idea of the cultural mosaic, who are not all for parties that say, like, assimilate or send them back or deport them back to their homelands. Right? we don't care about originality. We're not trying to figure out what works in order to also entertain you. Journalists and members of the public, pundit class, and hosts of TV shows. It's like, we want to do the thing that connects with the average Canadian to get them to see that this guy is unacceptable as an option. It's purely pragmatic and utilitarian here. If it sticks, if it fits, if it works, use it. Again, as I like to say, find the spot on the body where it hurts when you press, and when you do it, just dig right in there. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. So, speaking of this, Pyapoliev, as Mr. Grizzly mentioned on the show, an account, Trivia 280, I believe it was, who's just a Canadian citizen, member of, actually, from Canada's disability community, actually. And the reason I mentioned that is going to be obvious pretty soon. But yeah, it was just like, saw these things happening, and then decided to do a little investigative work of their own, and figured something out. Noticed a trend, and there's been an attempt at a counter narrative in that some of those accounts that were still active, when you went, one of the message on top of that was sort of like a pro-climate change message. So they're turning out, see, they accuse these of being conservative bots, but these were really liberal bots, and this was like a smear campaign type thing. Maybe it would be very Dark Justin-ish if that was indeed the case. But let's assume that flooding the internet with all these Pierre's given me so much buzz, and as a northerner, I've never felt more understood and seen type buzz, in order to then say, PBU spot farm. I mean, we all knew it, but or suspected it. So I don't think creating that much of a positive buzz and as a setup first for something else would probably be a best strategic choice in that case. So I have no facts. My deductive reasoning leads me to believe that it's less likely to be a situation that they were liberal bots who, on one occasion, decided to promote a pro-PP message in order to create the impression that he was using bots. And just whoever runs those accounts, they're for sale. It's like, oh, what's the next message we got paid for? And if the next message is completely incongruent with the message below, doesn't matter. Right? It's like, it's just a paycheck. Whether the message is pro this, anti that, like this, it's the same money. It's the same amount of work. It's no skin off their teeth. Right? So, we're, again, when we're talking about weird, it's like, this is weird. But like, even if you sit there and you think about it, right? Kirkland Lake is a pretty small town. There are no direct flights from any major area. All those accounts are listed as being like from everywhere: Honolulu, some places in Europe, New York State, New Mexico. Just, it's like, I just got back from the rally. I mean, there's really. You just got back from Kirkland Lake, Honolulu? Just got back, really? Already to talk about it? It's like, you'd probably still be in some airport lounge somewhere. So, it's on its face, it's so weak. And then it's like 14,000 or however many of these accounts for like a curling arena that holds, like, depending on who's talking about it, like 114 to 200 people. It's like, clearly it's not real. Like, if you're gonna do this type of thing, right, wouldn't you just do it on 50 bots? Not 14. Like, if you wanted it to make it seem real, right? So it's just so weird to think that you could flood the internet like that for a rally in Kirkland Lake and that nobody would notice and that you would be considered that you could be taken seriously. But they do it anyway. Right? It's all this effort to manufacture inevitability. It's don't liberals and New Democrats and all of that kind of stuff, don't even bother to go vote. Don't even bother. Like this, look at this overwhelming support. Look at this overwhelming support. There's nothing you can do about it. It's in the bag. Just stay home. Just get ready to accept that the next 4 years are going to be, and that's it. Twitter's not real life. Twitter's not real life. So you can't you can't run with that. You have to make it. Carol. Yes, it is. Yes. Kit T. Wigmore asked, is the Kirkland Lake bot thing worth a Fed investigation? I personally believe so. Now, here's the thing. I don't know literally what can be done. Like, this stuff is so new to me, and it's so new out there that I don't know what recommendations are, or if there are any policies or regulations or procedures for this type of thing. you'll remember when we talked a few months ago about how the Conservatives were using their merchandise site. You know, like we have questions. You know, are merchandise sales considered political donations? And if not, why not? Because if you want to keep dark money out of politics, saying, okay, well, you can't make a direct donation to the party if you're a foreign national or over this limit. But hey, if you want to buy 10,000 of our t-shirts in one shot, especially if we don't have to actually print them and deliver them, just go to our merch site. So you'd think you'd want to close down that loophole, or you'd see a potential loophole and you'd want to close it. Now, so you have, pardon me. Oops, I did not hit the mute button in time. So sorry, kids and cubs. I'm going to show you this here. Let me blow that up a little bit, as Mr. Grizzly would say. So you have here, for example, hundreds of accounts claiming to be located in the United States, France, England, Russia say they're still buzzing after attending Pierre Poilievre's recent rally in Kirkland, Ontario. This is Luc Lebrun from Press Progress. And we have MP Mark Gerritsen says, who we had on our show, say what we already knew, but now pretty much confirmed. Now, I like that politicians are saying it and bringing it to the attention of their constituents, but there are things in there I did not see. Like I said, my response was, don't berate, legislate. While you're at it, please also legislate to count money spent by Canadians on merch as political donations. Creator only knows what kind of international dark money is financing the CPC hate machine via merch sales. Take action. Right? So, again, I don't know what type of legislation can be put in place to say bot farms can't be done. Because, again, we're in an international world. If a party is intended on cheating, it's going to cheat. And, then they say, well, okay, fine. We just can't hire somebody in Canada to do it or write the check from Canada or something like that. But hey, friends of ours, from the IDU or wherever, would you like to help us out here? So I don't know what type of legislation can be. Charlie Angus from the NDP has also been highlighting stuff. But again, I'm not seeing anybody proposing legislation, proposing rule changes, proposing caps, proposing anything. It's just sort of like, oh my God, isn't this terrible? Okay, well, if it's terrible, propose doing something about it. So you see these bot firms and it's like, Elections Canada, is there something there for you to investigate? I mean, maybe not. We're not actually in an election period, right? RCMP ceases. Is there something to investigate? Maybe not. If it is foreign money, then yes, kind of falls under foreign interference and all that kind of stuff. But if it was domestically done or domestically paid for, then is it illegal? So we don't even know if it's illegal domestically to do that. So yeah, there's definitely, media ask questions. There still hasn't been a major English language mainstream media yet that has picked it up. In French, however, it has been picked up. Radio-Canada International, not International, just Radio-Canada picked it up yesterday. And fortunately, thanks to the internet, there is a version of it that is translated that I am going to read to you. Now, again, I've not heard about it. I've not seen anything on CTV when I last looked, or CBC when I last looked, or any of the major networks, but Radio-Canada in French. And you have to understand that in French, there's culture on journalism that's a little different. And in French as well, in Quebec, the conservative thing never took on. It never took on with Harper. They were the only province who didn't get lulled into it. They resisted him the entire time, never bought it. And the same has happened with Polyev right now. So they are more inclined to report about this stuff if we are assuming that that thing about the liberal-dominated media was basically just mythology, and that mainstream English language media really is all pretty much pro-conservative. That kind of explains why this hasn't been covered yet. So, according to Sandrine Coté, have the Conservatives hired troll farms to boost the popularity of their leader Pierre Poilievre? At least, that's what the New Democratic Party suspects, which is asking Elections Canada and the Ethics Commissioner to investigate a series of suspicious messages published on social networks. Okay, so the NDP has asked for things to be investigated, so that's good. It's a good start. The X platform, quote, was flooded with messages from people claiming to have attended Pierre Poilievre's recent event in Kirkland Lake, Ontario, explains the NDP in a press release on Tuesday. And they cite in the article, sorry, pardon me. I'm so sorry. I had something stuck in my throat. The Twitter feed at the 280 times, so THE 280 TIMES. And okay, so they cite the tweet that we saw on the show yesterday with the whole list in black, the black background with all the montage or collage of all the tweets, and they were mentioning that they had 8 full pages of this so far. The messages have identical wording and were generated by accounts claiming to come from Russia, France, and elsewhere, it is said. In one of the messages written in English and suspected of coming from a troll farm, we read, for example, quote, I just had the chance to attend the Pierre Poilievre rally in Kirkland Lake and I was blown away by the energy in the room. As a Northern Ontarian, it is refreshing to see a leader who truly understands our concerns and is willing to listen to us. NDP MP for Timmins, James Bay Charlie Angus, believes, quote, these foreign troll farms could be used, quote, to influence Canadian voters in favor of Mr. Poilievre. Quote, this could be a worrying practice for what Mr. Poilievre's machine has in store for the next federal election, he continues. This possible use of foreign troll farms is particularly worrying in the context of growing foreign interference in Canada. A public inquiry on the subject is also underway in Ottawa. Commissioner Marie-Josée Hogue's preliminary report published last May concluded that the 2019 and 2021 federal elections were indeed the subject of foreign interference, but that there were no impacts on the results of the election. A final report is due to be published next December. The publications on X raise, quote, questions for Pierre Poilievre. He must respond, New Democratic leader Jagmeet Singh said Tuesday at a press briefing. Quote, was it the Conservative Party that did it? Because it's clear that there are worrying elements in these messages on social networks. If the publications were not ordered by the Conservatives, quote, we must have an investigation. We need to know if it was another organization that did it or if it was foreign interference, continued Mr. Singh. The NDP will send a letter to Elections Canada and the Ethics Commissioner on Wednesday asking them to shed light on the situation, added the New Democratic leader. Questioned on the subject at a press briefing Tuesday morning, Conservative MP Luc Berthaud completely brushed aside these accusations from the New Democrats. Quote, I find this completely ridiculous. It's a conspiracy theory that has no place, he says. Mr. Berthaud also made a point of recalling that his party has, quote, a zero tolerance policy in matters of foreign interference. I'm sorry. I I I could uh, oh man, wow! He actually said that one with a straight face. I mean, the whole thing about India helping in the leader selection race, and literally, the party has a zero tolerance policy in matters of foreign interference. Oh, girl, you're so cute. I just, oh my god. Uh, At the end of the day, Tuesday, the communications director of the PPC, Sarah Fisher, pointed out in a message that the same type of robot accounts also promote the Prime Minister, message X in support. Um, and then, yeah, okay. The, the CPC does not pay for these robots and has no idea who is behind these accounts, she further argued. However, for the NDP, Mr. Poilievre's fake admirers have a lot to say about how the Conservatives treat Northern Ontario. Jagmeet Singh recently came to Northern Ontario and met with real people to hear their concerns. Pierre Poilievre used our region as a theatrical prop to convey his angry speeches, denounces Charlie Angus. Unable to generate any momentum, it seems Pierre Poilievre has had to turn to foreign troll farms and bogus accounts. It's low-level politics, and people deserve better, he adds. Charlie Angus, federal MP for Timmins James Bay for 20 years, announced last April that he would not seek a new mandate in the next federal election scheduled for 2025. He notably cited the redistribution of the electoral map as the reason to justify his decision. Now, that is basically what we had in the French media. Let's put it this way. In Anglophone media, English language media, there was something, but it happened again in Sudbury.com. So, kits and cubs, if you want a good example of why it is that we should support local media, this is it. They had the interview with him that they brought to us, in which he claimed not to know what Diagolon is, even though he filed a complaint with the RCMP 22 months ago because they threatened his wife. But now he needs their votes, so he doesn't remember any of that. And then they decided to run with this story. So far in English media, this is the only, of course, with Press Progress and all that kind of stuff, Luca LeBrun, who brought it up yesterday. But this is the only additional one that I've seen. It says here, the Conservative Party of Canada is denying involvement in bolstering Pierre Poilievre's recent appearance in Kirkland Lake using what appears to be fake social media accounts called bots. In the days following the Conservative Party of Canada's leader's tour of Northern Ontario, which included a stop in Sudbury, numerous accounts on X.com have posted about their experience. Pierre Poilievre's Northern Ontario tour is bringing people together. As a Northerner myself, I'm thrilled to see a leader who gets it. One post purportedly from someone in Wyoming read, last night's rally in Kirkland Lake was electric. The packed crowd was a testament to his commitment to our community. Numerous nearly identical posts from throughout the world were also posted to social media, prompting online ridicule, including one post on X.com parodying the situation by showing a large crowd of thousands of people purporting to have attended the Kirkland Lake rally. Apparently thousands of people from around the world converged on Kirkland Lake to listen to Pierre Poilievre in a 200-seat curling rink, another person posted to X.com. Political cartoonist Chris Chukri posted an editorial cartoon to X in which Poilievre is pictured surrounded by bot plants within a bot farm. And kits and cubs, I will take a little moment to show this one to you because it's I personally like it. So it's basically Pierre hiding in a whole bunch of sticks of bamboo with sort of like Rambo style, I guess. And then you see a whole bunch of cell phones growing from the bamboo shoots, all with the word bot on them. It's a pretty good one, I have to say. I like it a lot. All right, back to the article. The federal NDP weighed in, issuing a mid-year release asking, did the Conservatives hire bot farms for Pierre Poilievre's Northern Ontario tour? Pierre Poilievre needs to explain himself, Timmins James Bay NDP MP Charles Angus said in his party's media release. Are the Conservatives using foreign bot farms to create fake momentum in Canada? This could be a disturbing practice run for what the Poilievre machine has in store for the coming federal election. Sudbury.com reached out to the Conservative Party of Canada for their response, and they dismissed the NDP's comments as, quote, spreading baseless conspiracy theories. A little investigation will lead you to discover that the same type of bot accounts also promote the Prime Minister, Conservative Party of Canada Director of Communications Sarah Fisher said in an email. The CPC does not pay for bots and has no idea who is behind these accounts. We are seeking the support of actual Canadians, as witnessed by large in-person turnouts at our events, like 14,000 people in a curling arena in Kirkland Lake. Sorry, couldn't resist. Sudbury.com asked Fisher for examples of cases where bot accounts were used to promote Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, but we did not receive a response. Bot accounts have been widely reported to primarily support right-leaning governments and were responsible for promoting the hashtag Trudeau Must Go in 2019. So-called Spamouflage campaigns connected to the People's Republic of China have targeted dozens of MPs, including Trudeau. A combination of spam and camouflage, the Government of Canada wrote that it is intended to portray the hidden attempts to spread spam-like content and propaganda among more everyday human interest-style content. So there you go. And the statement about Twitter's algorithm favoring right-leaning politics stems back to investigation that was done in 2021. And it, if you're reading the article, it links to something that was published in the BBC that says that the claims of anti-conservative bias on Twitter's platform, because that was a big thing then. The Republicans were saying that our accounts or our messages are not being shared or broadcast as on an equal footing. And it turns out that was actually not the case. The study had examined tweets from political parties and users sharing content from news outlets in 7 countries around the world: Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Spain, the UK, and the US. It analyzed millions of tweets sent between April 1st and August 15th, 2020. Then researchers used the data to see which tweets were being amplified more on an algorithmically ordered feed compared with a reverse chronological feed, both of which users had an options of using. They found that the mainstream parties and outlets on the political right enjoyed a higher level of algorithmic amplification compared with their counterparts on the left. In 6 out of 7 countries, tweets posted by the political right elected officials are algorithmically amplified more than the political left. Right-leaning news outlets see greater amplification compared to left-leaning. Establishing why these observed patterns occur is a significantly more difficult question to answer and something Meta will examine. So that was from Ruman Chowdhury, who was the director of Twitter's Meta Machine Learning Ethics, Transparency, and Accountability team. So yes, Spamouflage. I had never heard the term before reading that article, Kit T. Wigmore. So, but yes, so that's basically all the coverage that I have noticed. So I'm hoping that major networks will do something with this. Now, by having sent it to the ethics commissioner, we know that there's probably going to be another day when the ethics commissioner releases the report, where there will be some news around this. So we will. It's an opportunity to hear about it again, but it would be nice if there was some type of move, like the Conservatives keep on wanting to call committees back to do something. Maybe this would be an opportunity to call a committee back, or when we open the legislature, in September again, that someone is proposing some type of bill or something, just to to have this in the media, because if what's going on right now, if this is beta testing for a broader strategy, if it happens to be that, I don't know. It's like the objective is to overwhelm us in some way. And when people feel overwhelmed, they'll leave the public square, I'm guessing, is probably the thinking. And if we, like I said, I keep on saying, like, this is a moment where we have to stay. We have to, be prepared to stay and fight and say, we understand that you want us to push us out of the square so that you can have all the room, so that the only message and the only voice that's heard is yours. But no, no. So yeah, like I said, I'm. It seems that there are some investigations that have been requested. I don't know if any have been announced, but but yeah, it's going to be it's going to be an interesting election. And here's the thing: is you've got people saying, "Well, oh, now that Pierre is cheating," it's like maybe no, not now, not now. Like, we already know Pierre is a cheater. He has a lifetime compliance agreement with Elections Canada. And he comes from a party that has cheating in its DNA. The Conservative Party of Canada, pleaded guilty in court to the in and out scheme. It's like, they're not adverse to cheating. That's right. They're not adverse to saying, well, finding a new interpretation of the rules, or right. That's why the merch sale is always interesting to me, because political donations are one thing, and that was the only thing people were doing. But now that parties can have different types of revenue streams other than just political donations, how are those accounted for? That matters. And while there are no rules yet, people get to do as they like, and it gains a temporary advantage. And technically, it's not illegal because it hasn't been legislated yet. So even though it's unethical, it goes against the spirit of everything we agreed to. But if it's not written down to say that you can't do it, you can. That's one of the things about the law. If the law doesn't expressly forbid it, you can do it. So this type of stuff, we have to find a way to somehow forbid it. With regard to fundraising, according to the Hill Times, it says that Conservative fundraising is on track to smash their 2023 record, but Liberal donations, ad spending are ticking up slowly but surely, because a lot of the media that's doing the horse race thing, when they're comparing that, they'll look at party numbers and they'll say, "Oh my God, they're outraising them by so much." Again, they're inevitable. We do have spending limits, so right, no matter how much you raise, you can't spend more. So all parties have to be able to do is raise the amount that they need to spend in the election. The thing is that all the additional money lets them do all this pre-election spending, right? So according to this, the Conservative Party raised more than $20.5 million in the first half of 2024, outpacing the governing Liberals' fundraising by more than $13.6 million so far this year, and its own total by this point last year, a record-smashing 4 quarters for the official opposition by more than $4 million. Yet with nearly $7 million in fundraising this year and nearly $3 million more in the bank at the end of 2023, the Liberals still seem to be holding their fire, while the Conservatives and NDP fire shots across the bow, with dueling cross-country ad campaigns launching this month ahead of 2 important September by-elections. Now, interesting here, because even though the Conservatives are raising more money, the Liberals have more money in the bank. So Pierre's spending like a drunken sailor, as the expression goes. So all this talk about, I'm going to manage the economy well. When you add how his party funds are being spent, and when you add everything that he's billing Canadians, that shows up on those quarterly statements that we keep on seeing, how he's billing so much more to run his operations to the taxpayers than the Prime Minister. This guy does not seem to have any fiscal discipline whatsoever. It just really doesn't. Yet with nearly 7 million. Oh, I mentioned that one already. In the second quarter of 2024, covering April 1st to June 30th, the Conservatives raised a total of $9.83 million, averaging $187 from 52,519 individual contributions. While that total amounts to more than 865,000, while that total amounts to more than 865,000 decrease in fundraising, the party increased its individual contributions by nearly 1,500 compared to the first 3 months of this year. The Conservatives' $20.52 million combined fundraising total for this year is also well on its way to surpassing last year's record-shattering $35.26 million total, as it had only raised $16.27 million by the middle of 2023. While the Tories still maintain a more than $6 million lead on the governing Liberals, who raised $3.77 million from 28,523 individuals, that's the part that worries me. It's the number of individuals. We're looking at 52,519 for the Conservatives and 28,523. So there are fewer people donating. The Grits fundraising numbers are slowly ticking upward. Both the Liberals' fundraising and contribution totals are slightly higher than their totals in the first quarter of 2024 and higher than any other quarter in 2023 and 2022, with the exception of the fourth quarter of those years. The Liberals were also the only party to improve both their fundraising and contribution totals. The NDP raised $1.29 million last quarter from 14,063 individual contributions, a slight dip from the $1.34 million from 14,699 in the first quarter of the year, for a total of $2.64 million so far this year. The Green Party of Canada had the fourth highest fundraising total for the quarter, with $376,076 from 4,210 individual contributions, followed by the Bloc Québécois with $321,806 from 1,841 contributions. The People's Party of Canada also had its worst fundraising results since its formation in 2021, raising $140,000.57 from 1,850 contributions. Interesting. Former Liberal leader Kate Laforce told the Hill Times that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's brand has been struggling in recent years, particularly since Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre took the reins of the official opposition in late 2022. This has discouraged support and donations and negatively affected polling year over year, with the Conservatives now polling between 15 and 20 points ahead. Laforce, now a senior consultant with Summa Strategies, contrasted those recent numbers to the peak of Liberal fundraising and support in the lead-up to the 2015 election and the early years of the Liberals' mandate, when the Trudeau brand was its strongest, and the year-by-year decrease since then. Similarly, the Conservatives' fundraising has surged since late 2022, riding on the momentum of Poilievre's election to leader of the party. The Conservatives are noticeably putting a lot of effort into a refreshed Conservative brand, as well as elevating Poilievre's individual brand, Laforce said, adding that the party's investment in the rebrand has presumably had a positive impact on the increased returns on support. As part of the rebrand, the Conservatives spent $3 million on ads in the summer of 2023 in an attempt to reintroduce Poilievre to Canadians. That campaign amounted to nearly half of the party's $8.5 million advertising spend for that year, according to the party's initial annual financial returns for 2023, which Elections Canada posted online in early July. In comparison, the Liberals spent roughly $381,000 on advertising in 2023, while the NDP spent only about $42,000. So, that's if you felt like you were being overwhelmed by the Conservatives or that the Liberals weren't in the game that year, you would not be wrong. $8.5 million to $381,000. Now, maybe the Liberals thought that it was maybe a waste of time and money to spend all of that money in 2 years before an election, and that attention spans are only such that it's probably best to spend the money at another time. But what the Conservatives are doing is the thing that they like to do best, which is to try to define someone and predefine someone. So that's what they're spending a lot of the time doing it, trying to define their leader, but also to try to define the Prime Minister, which is a little harder to do because he's been around long enough. But in terms of their definition, it seems that the tactic is more to solidify the negative impressions that people are already predisposed to have among that group than to try and sway people in this case. So it's really to try to raise the specter of Trudeau being some type of evil, menacing force in order to motivate the vote to get out through that aspect than it is about trying to court anybody who might be a traditional progressive conservative to add to numbers. While the Liberals may have far less to spend on advertising than the Conservatives, it seems like someone's turned on the taps, if only slightly. Hogan, who has said GT and Company principal Cole Hogan, who has worked on digital ads for Ontario Premier Doug Ford and ex-Alberta Premier Jason Kenney, regularly tracks the federal party's advertising spending, and on Meta, one of the few social media platforms to publicize such data and make it available. According to Meta's ad library, in the 90 days before the fundraising numbers were released from May 2nd to July 30th, the Conservative Party of Canada and Pierre Poilievre's official pages spent a combined total of $398,295. In comparison, the Liberal Party and Trudeau's pages had spent a combined $78,825 on ads, followed by the New Democrats with $51,639. However, in past months, the Liberals have begun increasing that spending week over week. Despite the Liberals' combined ad buy of $10,618 from July 20th to 26, amounting to less than half of the Conservatives' combined $25,852, it represents a nearly 50% increase from just over the $7,000 it spent the week before, which is itself was a 105% increase from the $3,500 paid in the previous 7-day period. So it seems that, this would confirm my impressions that it's they've decided to take the hit of allowing PP to have all that runway 2 years ahead, and now are doing the slow and gradual ramp up. I guess strategically the hope here might be that that by the time we get to the point where people who typically tune politics out decide to tune back in, that there's been so much of this conservative advertising, and all of it is really just really negative and heavy, that people might have had their fill and might be ready for a different type of message and someone that has a much less of a hard sell approach to it. It's a strategy. It's really too early to tell if it's going to be a good one or if it's going to work. While websites like Google, YouTube, and X don't offer the same level of transparency as Meta, Hogan said that if parties are allocating a certain amount on one platform, if they're smart, they will be spending something at least parallel on the rest. Hogan said Liberals' ad spending is ticking up slowly but surely, and that he would be watching for any rapid week-to-week jumps as an indication of an imminent election. However, in his view, neither the Liberal spending nor fundraising totals foretell a writ drop anytime soon. Yet even with a lower total than the Conservatives' unprecedented fundraising success since Poilievre became leader, Hogan said the Liberals still have cash to spend. According to the Liberals' annual return, it had $2.8 million on hand to finish 2023. They have the money to do it, so it escapes me why they are holding fire, Hogan said, adding that he doesn't buy the explanation that the lack of spending is due to a principled stance against negative attack ads. There's got to be a back room where they're polling reactions or focus grouping about how people feel about Poilievre and what his negatives are, Hogan said, adding that if that's true, he can understand why a single ad has not materialized from those efforts. The only thing I can assume is that they've done the focus grouping and nothing strong has come up, so they're not confident enough to pool their money behind it. That's another theory. While the Liberals have yet to decide on a course of action to stunt Poilievre's momentum and how much to spend on it, the Conservatives are expanding their lines of attack. The Tories launched a new cross-country ad campaign focused not on Trudeau but Sell Out Sing, as the 30-second ad released on July 30th dubs the NDP leader. The ad figures an image of Singh on the cover of a fictitious, quote, luxury pensioner monthly, accusing him of signing the confidence and supply agreement with the Liberals in March 2022 to delay the election until he qualifies for his pension. Singh, who was elected to the House of Commons in a 2019 by-election, will qualify for his pension on February 25th, 2025. A second ad, released on July 31st, reiterates that same line of attack, slightly varying from the previous ads. Quote, Singh gets his pension, you pay the price. and he gets his pension, Trudeau gets power. Mélanie Richer, who previously served as Singh's director of communications, told the Hill Times that despite the personal attacks, she views it as a good sign for the NDP. Quote, when a party that says it's going after the prime minister and his government spends time and money attacking you personally, that just means that you're on their radar. And that's where the party wants to be, Richer said, now with Earnscliffe Strategies. Quote, for the party, this says the Conservatives know the choice in the next election will be between themselves and the NDP, and we welcome that. Unlike the Liberals, however, Richer noted that the Conservative ads follow the NDP's own series of ads to launch the party's, quote, Change the Rules tour, which the New Democrats say is their largest pre-election ad buy since 2015. Richer said that while the party is adept at making every dollar count, having personally worked in elections in which the party had no money and still made it work, with the party now officially debt-free and with possibly a year and change to raise more money, she feels the NDP is well positioned to challenge both the Liberals and Conservatives when the time comes. In the meantime, Richer said she has been told by the party that even more ad spending is forthcoming ahead of the September 16th by-elections in Elmswood, Transcona, Manitoba, and La Salle-et-Marne, Verdun, Quebec. As for the actual content of the Conservative broadside on Singh, Richer said going for a personal jab suggests that it was the only available line of attack. Quote, they can't attack his record because they know people actually quite like the things Singh has gotten done, and the Conservatives have nothing to show for themselves, Richer says. They may think their ad is super cutting edge, but I think it just validates what Singh is doing. Ooh, damn. That's a little saucy. I like her. Okay, let's see if we got some comments here from the kids here. About some, is there anything here? Just checking in with you. Bum, 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 bum. Oh. Nope, not yet. Not in there. Okay, good. I didn't see anything here. There you go. Do you want me to get... No, that's not for about the thing either. Okay, then great. Wonderful. So that's what we have on the fundraising stuff and, the kind of political stuff. I'll give you a little bit of a news you can use before we have to go for the day, kids and cubs. People, the residents of Jasper, had an opportunity to go back and take a look. They're not letting people drive in. They're chartering buses. And yesterday at some point, about 550 people had signed up for the tours to go and take a look. The Prime Minister paid a visit to the Wildfire Command Center in Hinton, meeting with fire crews and evacuees. He also met with Premier Daniel Smith while he was there. Daniel Smith said, it's going to be a really big rebuilding challenge. I wanted him to see that unified command works and that he should trust us as a partner to be able to assist in that. All the leaders were briefed on the wildfire response. There's still about 860 people trying to get the wildfire in the national park under control. So it seems that there's been some change in conditions that have allowed to get more people on the ground to help fight the fire, and that they're taking advantage of that situation to get people in places where they couldn't before because of fire behavior. It's not safe for people to return home yet, which is why they're doing this by bus. And Daniel Smith was saying that for some people, it might help them when they see what is the situation, help them get the closure they need to move on with a healing process. She says that the province looks towards rebuilding and hopes to work closely with the Prime Minister to get this done. Quote, because I think we'll be able to get permits approved, the development support that's needed, and be able to do things a lot faster with all three levels of government working together. She says that the town of Jasper doesn't have a development permitting department like most municipalities, but is working towards that so that the rebuilding can be done with as few delays as possible. On his visit, the Prime Minister did not make himself available for questions from the media, and his office said that he would not be taking a tour of the devastation just yet, out of respect for the people who are grieving and that were preparing to go and take a look at the state of their homes. So he'll probably be doing that at a bit of a later date. In the United States, their Tropical Storm Debbie has slammed into the Gulf Coast as a Category 1 hurricane. As a category, okay, so it's not, it has a, yeah. I think Category 1 hurricane is still considered a tropical storm. I think if it gets a little higher, they should call it something else. And it turned deadly. It's the first hurricane to hit Florida this season. It made landfall in the Big Bend region, and it dumped more than 12 inches of rain in some parts of the state. At least 4 people died, including 2 children, and hundreds, as usual with these types of things, hundreds of thousands of customers are without power. It has been since, okay, so it hit as a hurricane. It's been downgraded to a tropical storm since, cutting a path through the Carolinas yesterday, I guess, bringing torrential downpours and historic flooding. Both Georgia and South Carolina had declared states of emergency. Don't know how or where yet it's predicted to hit in Canada should it come up. But that's what's happening over there. Also talked very briefly about yesterday, as you know, Mr. Grizzly might have mentioned, the stock markets are going on have been swinging rather intensely. The TSX had hit a big high one day. It went up by about 400 points one day, and then the next day it went down by 500, and then another 200, and then all around the world, like the Nikkei went down 12.4% on what was the holiday Monday here, but then rebounded to 10% the next day. And it seems to be primarily based about fears of a recession in the United States, because the United States has had data that's had slowing economy, and a lot of people are expressing concern that the U.S. Fed didn't cut interest rates a little earlier than they have. Some of them are even calling for an extraordinary meeting for the Fed to cut some rates prior to its scheduled announcement in September. It seems that most of the hit is come in tech stocks. So the NASDAQ got hit particularly hard. Also in Bitcoin, there was a huge drop in Bitcoin, over 10% or something, which is, again, you'll notice that a certain candidate for prime minister is not talking about that a lot lately, Bitcoin. So that's part of here. The other problem that seems to be, not problem, but a trend that seems to be an undercurrent is that Japan, rather than lowering interest rates, raised interest rates last week, and that caused some panic because there's a lot of people, when you get in the markets at that level, they will borrow money in a currency in a country that has a much lower interest rate, and then they will borrow money in that currency, and then they will buy whatever stocks they want in that currency, and therefore the difference, the savings that they get, and what it would have cost to borrow that money in American currency, for example, they get to save that, and they buy lots of transactions, like in big dollar amounts. So when the interest rate suddenly goes up, their bet doesn't become as profitable anymore, and they often borrow in order to make those currency purchases. So many investors borrowed against a low interest rate yen to fund higher yield assets, and now they're selling off stocks to pay back the loans. Suddenly, when we combine them with the other factors, they're saying, "Oh, maybe we better rebalance our portfolios," says one financial expert. Quote, he says, "We're not talking about 1,000 here or there. It's billions of dollars when they're doing that." So two things: a bit of a tech bubble bursting a bit, and some shoring up some interest calls, I'm guessing, from having bought in currencies that that are exposed to currencies that are affected by lower interest rates on the international market. The other thing, let's see what else is there. We mentioned the river, the Kirkland River. That's the thing I wanted to mention yesterday. Well, I wanted to mention, I was typing in the chat, but Mr. Grizzly, I don't think I had a chance to mention it. The landslide that a week ago blocked the river and created a dam of debris, basically created a river that was about 11 kilometers long behind it. And eventually the pressure got too much and it eroded the blockage, and that sent a huge volume of water downstream. It's a powerful flow of water, so it's dragging debris along with it. So people are advised to be cautious. The First Nations leaders said that they're worried about the salmon run, because the logs are also, like, as the debris and stuff like that is also carving new paths down the mountainsides. I guess I don't know if it's just mountainsides or whatnot at this point, but they're carving new paths all the way through, so it's changing the landscape, and it's creating. If you're changing the paths, then salmon may, go down another path. So apparently the riverbank has the charging waters have swept cabins from the side of the riverbank, and now is creating additional fear, because now the salmon must not only try to find its way, but it has to swim through with obstacles and other debris that makes it more difficult. Joe Alphonse, who's the Sokoto, I hope I got that right, tribal chair, he's calling on the federal officials to shut down the coastal fisheries to protect the fish. It says, facing this new hurdle, we need government to show leadership. Don't be sitting there counting your votes. Do what you have to protect the resource. He's hoping that the Chinook salmon got past the slide before it blocked the river, but he doesn't trust government promises. There is no management, there's no control, so Canada and all these countries have to take a long, hard look at how they conduct their business, he said. The Department of Fishery and Oceans had not yet commented at the time I took the notes, but has spent millions combating illegal fisheries and protecting the salmon stock. Chief Francis Iakis of the Costco First Nation says that pollution is another problem. He talks about rivers up there that are referred to as the garbage river, because the pulp mills up and down the river just pump whatever into it. And he said that there have been something that's called dip nets, which are rather labor intensive to try and preserve the salmon. But, you do the best you can with what you got, right? And sometimes it's not enough. But he's on record as saying, we don't fight for that fish for the benefit of the mighty dollar. We do it in order to have food for our people. So again, it's there's the commercial fishery, and then there's fishing for subsistence. Scott Hinch of UBC's Pacific Salmon Ecology and Conservation Lab says the salmon will now have to fight the former silty water and floating debris to lay their eggs. Quote, the large wood and the other debris that's coming down could interfere with the migration. It could be running it fish. What? Sorry. The large wood and other debris that's coming down could interfere with the migration. It says that it affects the fish's sense of smell to find their natal streams. That will change, at least briefly, which could confuse them and could slow them down. And the debris is also concerned for communities downstream. The mayor of Hope, Victor Smith, told the CBC that his district is ready and expects that the river will absorb the extra flow. He said, noting that the water, quote, the water actually this time of year is very low compared to what it normally would be. So there's a lot more room and capacity. But the big thing is the fact that in the river, that there could still be a concern. So in this case, the pretty low water level actually ended up being a benefit, because it allows more room for the water that's rushing in to basically stay in without overflowing the banks. it seems that the first wave of debris has, at the time of writing down the notes, had not yet passed through Hope, BC. And so, yeah, that's about the best I've got for you on that at the moment, Kits and Cubs. But I will definitely have more to say in the coming days, because this is going to go on for a little while yet. All right, Kits and Cubs, I believe that we have a show. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. And, well, you have the mouths from which we want the words to come. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to make sure you do not miss an episode, please go to our pod page, podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. If you would like to support us in other ways, surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, getting very, very close to 5,000. I believe Kit pointed out that we are at 4,990 or something. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you for your support. Make like Elaine and click the buttons like, share, subscribe. It makes us very happy when you do it. So thanks so much. And if you'd like to help us in other ways, the QR code that's right there on the screen, that brings you to our coffee page, which Mr. Grizzly wants me to say that it's our show fund, even though I call it the Emergency Hydration Fund. We know that I'm just playing. Can't be all serious all the time. So, but if you can have a little something change in your pocket, and you would like to leave a few coins there for us to help us with internet costs, subscription fees to services, and all that kind of stuff, and help build a little fund, because we really would like to be able to hire somebody someday to help us a little bit with this. Every dot count, every little bit counts, and we really appreciate your contribution. So that's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. We appreciate whatever that you can donate. And let's see, what else? The gift of your attention, however, is the one that's the most important to us. If you're not able to donate, we love to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com. That's where you can write to us, or you can leave a message on our Twitter feed at True Eager, on our YouTube pages, or on our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver. Because democracy is something that you do if you happen to be living in the beautiful provinces of British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick. You have some provincial elections coming up. If you happen to be living in Ward 15, Toronto, get to know your candidates. That's all I will say. Because I don't know how much I can say without it being considered an illegal donation or anything like that. So there you go, Ward 15. And of course, we have some by-elections coming up, La Salle, Villemar, Verdun, and Transcona. So if you're out there, get to know your candidates, or maybe call your election organization to see if you can volunteer at a polling station. Right? From the Beaver Lodge, this is your Eager Beaver saying, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Words of wisdom. Always take time for self-care. Always take time for self-care. And if there's somebody out there that's practicing some self-care, give them the space to do that, and let them know that if they need a shoulder or an ear, that you're there when they're ready. All right. I think that's it. For now, I will try this time once again to do the dismount. Hopefully it gets to come back with a tiny little Easter egg. So hold on, kits, and let's see if I can do this right. I guess I should tell myself to cue the cock. That might be helpful. Okay, here we go. Let's try this. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master. Hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs. We have a little, they played our song again at the Olympics. Cameron Rogers in the hammer throw. Apparently, Canadians are good at throwing something other than a fit. So, incredible competition. Unlike the men's competition where Ethan came in and was one and done. She had to make 4 really good throws because people were pushing her. She had the lead, and then someone took the lead, and so there actually was like a bit of some jockeying. But then on her 4th throw, she she got a really, really good angle on the throw, and it just went flying, and just a thing of beauty. So another gold medal for Canada yesterday. Unfortunately, our basketball team flamed out. Might be some questions here at Basketball Canada, because as we mentioned on a previous show, we seem to have had a good coach, and we decided to get rid of that coach in order to bring another one in. And the coach that we got rid of is now leading Germany, and Germany's still in it, and we're not. So, and Germany surprised the world by winning the World FIBA title, and we finished 3rd, which is historic medal. But so, got rid of the wrong coach, maybe. But there were the men's were a strong medal hope. Our 3x3 team were a strong medal hope, and our women's team are ranked 5th in the world, so could have created an upset. And all 3 basketball formations for Team Canada left without medals from the Olympics. So there might be some re-questioning at Basketball Canada in terms of leadership and coaching to give our players the best possible conditions to be able to meet with success. With regard to Andre DeGrasse, is as we mentioned, his personal coach got his accreditation removed because complaints against him for manners he was interacting with his charges. He had been under suspension in the United States for having been at the age of 44 in some type of relationship with an 18-year-old he was coaching. He had served his full suspension and apparently had assured everyone that everything, there was nothing else. But it seems that on Friday, 3 people in the state of Florida filed new charges against him, which is what led to his suspension. So in this case, it is, while I complain a lot, and I did initially complain because I thought it was this, because all the information wasn't out yet, that is once again people making an announcement based on information that was already out there. And why doing it on the eve of the competition? In this case, it seems to be really legit. New information came out on Friday, and they took action. Within days on that. So that is legitimate. The other piece of good news I want to mention before we go off is that we talked about Bangladesh, and that the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, left after 15 years in power because the people pushed her out. It started as a protest against a public service hiring policy, and then ended up being wider protests to get her out because apparently she has been displaying more and more authoritative tendencies as the years have gone by. So this is a population led by students that had decided we do not. You seem to be going down the autocracy road, and we don't want that. So you got to go, and she did. She fled to India. So it seems that at the request of the students, Nobel Peace Prize laureate Muhammad Yunus will be leading the interim government. And this makes me happy because one of my favorite books in the whole wide world is a book called Banker to the Poor. And if you want a good read, a nonfiction read, I really recommend that. Muhammad Yunus is the person that established the concept of the Grameen Bank or microcredit. So like today, let's say we needed a $2,000 loan to buy a new computer. No bank will give us a personal loan for that, right? Well, he created that concept of microcredit for all these people that like farm, and you could bring more food to the market if you were able to buy a wagon, but you don't have a wagon, you don't have the money for a wagon, you need $20 for that. Well, they'll lend you $20 at a very low interest rate, and like the repayment rates are something like 98%. So because people are not looking for a handout, they're looking for a hand up. So making microcredit available to them in small amounts at very low interest rates in order for them to be able to expand whatever personal little businesses that they have, or personal entrepreneurship initiatives that they have to raise money for their families and to feed their families, actually works. It's a really good program. It's a program I wish we had here. I think that if there was a Canadian version of that, it could work for people who are new Canadians. It could work for people. It could work in the Indigenous community, I'm sure, to foster some into entrepreneurship. It could work within broader Canada for small businesses, self-employment businesses. Um, you know, uh, it's a good concept. It's a good concept that could help a lot of people. Um, so yeah, he's seen as a hero in his nation, and somebody that does care about actual people and wanting to make their lives better. So this is a good sign in Bangladesh, and if we're looking again for signs of hope around the world that people are rejecting authoritarianism and autocracy, hey, look to Bangladesh. You never know where you're going to get inspiration, kids. You never know. The world's a big place. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye.